I went into Dune with an almost chip on my shoulder. You know, I had seen the Lynch version, which is an interesting mess of a movie. I was kind of familiar with the story, which I really think helped going into this one. But it wasn't something that overly wowed me, checking out the trailers or the clips. And almost immediately, sitting in the cinema with the big bombastic sound system, the great widescreen image just in front of me, which I honestly feel was the best way to view this movie, this thing wowed me almost immediately. Now, it's not just a case of style and of visuals, which are excellent, but it's also got this dense plot with lots of different moving parts, which can be boiled down to a few elements. You know, the plot can be as complicated as you're going to allow it to be, or it could be as simple as you want it to be, depending on how much you want to pull from the movie. And I kind of like that about it. You know, as you look at the story, you're in a future galaxy. You have the Emperor that kind of rules everything. There is a mineral, spice, which is the driving force behind everything in this kind of universe. And we have his kind of subordinates, the Harkonnens, people who are put on this planet of Arrakis to harvest the spice, the only place in the universe that you can get this thing from. And they've been doing it for a number of years, and suddenly the Emperor has taken it off them. It's no longer in their remit, and he has handed this job to the House of Atreides, and they are now going to go to Arrakis and begin production of the spice. But there seems to be a political machination going on here as well. The Emperor is threatened by the House of Atreides and is creating a kind of antagonistic nature between the Harkonnens and the Atreides.
When is a gift not a gift? The Atreides' voice is rising, and the Emperor is a jealous man.
Two vying forces that could possibly challenge the Emperor at some point, and by pitting these two people against each other, they're going to decimate their forces, weakening each other and allowing the Emperor to continue his reign. That's the kind of rough idea behind it, but there's so much mysticism and culture and varying ideas within this one that if you dig deeper, you're going to find some wonderful elements to really pull from the story. And I don't want to go into everything about the story because it's there for you to take it as you want, and I don't want to waste half the review going through that. I was really struck by the casting. I think the casting is absolutely perfect here, and it's a host of familiar faces in this one, and it's hard to pick out people that do particularly well. Rebecca Ferguson does exceptionally well as a kind of concubine for Oscar Isaac's leader of the Atreides, and again, Oscar Isaac is absolutely magnificent in this movie as well. There's lots of setup to what's going to be future stories of this one and how they're going to conclude in later elements of the movie. So you get people popping up who are great, like Zendaya, who pops up, who is a kind of mythical figure created through dreams that Paul Atreides has throughout the movie. You get Javier Bardem as the leader of the Fremen, a kind of indigenous people.
Hold.
Or whether it's something that's going to grow into something larger. They're amazing. Everybody's pitch perfect. The movie looks fantastic. There is a certain visual style that makes you just sit up and pay attention here. Even small things. Small things like spice being within the whole sand and the wind of the planet is a visual spectacle just to see it. These little glistening bits of glitter throughout the sand and throughout the wind, and how it affects people is wonderfully put. The idea of the ships, particularly the ones that look like dragonflies, are such a unique decision to have that kind of look. I don't know if that's what's in the books or not, but it's a wonderful idea. It's something I haven't really seen done before, and it looks really great visually. This is a movie that feels huge in scope. Although we focus most of our attention on one planet, we get to see little elements of other cultures in their ships, or other planets that Caladan, the Atreides planet. You get to see these different styles, and they're all wonderfully visual, grand in scope, and paint a larger picture here. And walking out of Dune, I was kind of struck because I thought the actors were perfect and they all did wonderfully well. I thought the visual style of the movie was really strong and in your face and gave you a great sense of scope and size. The story is dense if you want it to be. It can be on the surface if you want. There's more there to dig out of it. It's great and it's well done. The story this time, other than Lynch's version, is given time to breathe, and that makes it much more welcoming and much more able to kind of pull information from it. The idea of the different cultures, the idea of mysticism.
You dismissed my mother in her own house.
Come here, kneel.
The idea of trying to create a leader, to create the perfect being, to sort of unify the universe is a wonderful idea. And again, it's kind of not given a great deal of information, but there's enough there where you can pull all these strands of threads and create something great. But even seeing all this, the movie has one huge uphill battle, and that is being part one. It's not a complete tale. It's not a complete story. I've seen other things happen in other movies, and this is different, that have made me a little bit wary of whether this is going to conclude in such a fantastic manner. Now, I have a great deal of confidence in Denis Villeneuve, and I think he will succeed in creating a perfect conclusion to this. But until I see it, this movie can't be anything more than a kind of 4 out of 5 for me, even though I have nothing that I can fault it with. Because if that second part falls flat, what's the point in having a first part? You know, it's like watching a 3-act movie. If act 1 is amazing and the other 2 drop it down, it's just you know, it starts well but ultimately fades away. So I will patiently wait on part 2. I will eagerly anticipate it, and I will probably revisit this just before that one comes out, because this was just such a fun movie. I think I may go back to the cinema and just experience it again, because I really do feel that the cinema experience was highlighted by seeing something like this of scope and scale on the big screen, made it as enjoyable as it was. I'm looking forward to part 2. A little worried, but hopefully it will come together and create something wonderful. I'd love to know your thoughts on Dune, whether you liked it. How do you think it compared to the Lynch version? I'd be interested in that as well. And of course, there's other content up here. If you want to see more of my stuff, if you think I deserve it, hit this video with a like, subscribe if you haven't, share would be fantastic as well. And of course, if you want to join the membership program, you'll get access to exclusive content, or you can support me on Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.